Yes, please. Right, we're recording.
Oh.
Okay. So first of all, welcome to Soul Chats, support for spiritual journey. And today we have a beautiful guest with us, Belinda Scales, who it was by chance really that our podcast is on this, because as is the case with the way the mysteries weave in our lives and the people come and go as they please, delivering messages, and then I've got messages for the other person. Well, that is essentially what's happened this morning when Belinda touched base with me, and we were discussing some interesting things and what's happening in my life, happening in Belinda's life, and well, the magic just collided. We just needed to bring this and share it with whoever needs to hear it. So firstly, thank you so much, Belinda, for letting me talk to you and bringing this to our podcast, or to my podcast. So thank you. And can you tell us a little bit about you first?
Okay, this is completely unscripted because
No.
So I'm a little bit nervous. I don't normally talk about myself on video. This is my first video, everyone, or first live anything. So it's I'm just feeling my heart racing. Because you're like put on the spot when you don't usually. I can talk about myself, no problems, like when I'm not, like when the spotlight isn't on me and it's just like, just talking to everyday people in everyday conversations. But then the sooner, I'm sure other people can relate to this, and you're just like, oh shit, I see.
Well,
I just don't see anything.
I will be a witness for this. I have journeyed with Belinda in mystery school over, I think, 2 different types of mystery schools. And anyway, it's been a beautiful weaving and very much on the soul path. Now, Belinda has left a corporate job. She is on the path of coaching and helping others to facilitate their highest form of self in this world, to express it out in the world. Am I kind of on the right track?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Being seen.
Being seen, yeah, this is really good, right? So Belinda comes today with being in the middle of all that, and I guess we both it was a gift of the universe to bring us together. We haven't really talked on the phone for months and months and months, and we were both thinking it was in relation to something else completely different, but we never got a chance to even talk about it. So that's the way the divine works its magic, and it's just so amazing to watch that and be a part of that. And you'll hear the way Belinda talks is, Belinda will mention the word feminine, and so that's where we look at the way the energy weaves its magic. A lot of people call it Shakti, and so it's the invisible and the way it weaves. It's our flow with the universe. And then in our doing is more of the masculine. So I was just listening to the way Belinda was bringing that to me with explaining certain things she'll explain about in a moment, just to give you a little bit of background so she doesn't have to explain everything. So she stays with the energy and that amazingness of it. So Belinda, before we get into it, I could barely sit in my chair. Do you have that book we were talking about with you?
Yes, Untamed. Just released.
So if you don't get anything, just to let you know, for advertising this, it's a book that Belinda has come across that's just amazing. It's called Untamed by
Glennon Doyle. Yeah, Glennon Doyle. Yeah.
Really hot at the moment, right? And so I have no idea of this. Okay, so I am in my own little. Let's get into it now, because I just can't. I can't.
Yeah. Let's just go right into it. Yeah.
Let's get into it. Let's get into it. So we basically, Belinda gets on the phone to me, and just before I pick up the phone, I am in this state of, okay, I know I'm planning for something online, and there's all this stuff coming around and coming up, and I'm connected in, and I'm like, whoa. And there is just this knowing that I have to make this podcast, and this conversation come up when I was talking to Belinda, that I have to make this podcast about, for some reason, at the age of 10, I kind of lost where I was going, and I lost my mystical connection that I'd had from previous years from childhood, in the mystical realms. And it was very much like the priestess realms in the feminine. And I'd lost that at the age of 10. And I'm like, but most people say 7. And I remember talking to Belinda at that point, as I'm trying to bring into the world this new program that I'm doing, that I've gone, Belinda, I don't know what it is, but the age of 10 just like hit me, right? And I'm so glad I spoke that, because Belinda then, from what seems to be such a minor thing in the world, right, to just mention the age of 10, comes forth this divine message that just smacked me and made me listen to the beautiful writing of this book. And it really hammered me. And I know that there's other women in particular, but other men too, that may be open to receiving this message that the book and Belinda brought to me. What a gift, Belinda. So thank you so much. And so I'm going to send it over to you, because you stopped me and went, oh my God, the age of 10. So
I know. I'm just like, oh my God, you've got to hear this. I'm like, literally, I never go outside. And obviously with being in lockdown, we can't, sit in our parks and do the things that we want to do other than exercising. So I'm sitting in my backyard on a nice, beautiful like picnic rug, and, sort of going, okay, I've got a couple of hours here that I can just take for me, and not always be doing something. And I just started reading the first, I think so far in 3 parts, so I can see. And the first part is about being caged, so being tamed, and then Elise says this thing about, I just literally had read it like seriously half an hour just before we spoke on the phone.
of course.
And so anyway, she's saying something about, no, 7, it's just something happened at 10 years old. And I'm like, no way. In my head, I'm like, you've got to read this book.
And of course, I haven't read it. I'm in my own. I don't know anything about this book other than what Bee's just brought to me. Okay, so caveat. All right, Bee, share the wisdom.
Okay, all right. So it's the first chapter, but after the prologue about the cheetah, and it's called Sparks. I don't know. Do you want me to read that part out?
Go for it. Come on, let's share the magic.
Okay, all right. Okay. So Glennon here talks about 4 years ago, married to the father of my 3 children, I fell in love with a woman. Much later, I watched that woman drive away from my home to meet with my parents and share her plan to propose to me. She thought I didn't know what was happening that Sunday morning, but I knew. When I heard her car return, I settled into the couch, opened a book, and tried to slow my pulse. She walked through the door and directed toward me, bent down, kissed my forehead. She pushed my hair aside and took a deep breath of my neck, like she always does. Then she stood up, disappeared into the bedroom. I walked into the kitchen to pour some coffee for her, and when I turned around, she was right there in front of me, down on one knee, holding a ring. Her eyes were certain and pleading, wide and laser focused, sky blue, bottomless. I couldn't wait, she says. I just could not wait another minute. Later in bed, I laid my head on her chest while we talked about her morning. She told my parents, I love your daughter and grandchildren like I've never loved them before. I've spent my entire life searching and preparing myself for them. I promise you that I will love and protect them forever. My mother's lip quivered with fear and courage as she said, Abby, I have not seen my daughter this alive since she was 10 years old.
Ooh, there it is.
Yeah. And then she goes, much else was said that morning, but then first response from my mother jumped out at me, like the sentence is in this novel, begging to be underlined. I have not seen my daughter this alive since she was 10 years old. My mother watched the spark in my eyes fade during my 10th year on earth. Now, 30 years later, she was witnessing the return of that spark. In the past few months, my entire posture had changed. I looked regal to her and a little scary. After that day, I began to ask myself the question, where did my spark go at 10? How had I lost myself? I've done my research and learnt this. 10 is when we learn how to be good girls and real boys. 10 is when children begin to hide who they are in order to become what the world expects them to be. Right around 10 is when we begin to internalize our formal taming. 10 is when the world sat me down, told me to be quiet, and pointed toward my cages. These are the feelings you are allowed to express. This is how a woman should act. This is the body you must strive for. These are the things you will believe. These are the people you can love. Those are the people you should fear. This is the kind of life you are supposed to want. Make yourself fit. You'll be uncomfortable at first, but don't worry. Eventually, you'll forget you're caged. Soon, this will just feel like life. I wanted to be a good girl, so I tried to control myself. I chose my personality. I chose a personality, a body, a faith, and a sexuality so tiny I had to hold my breath to fit myself inside. Then I promptly became very sick. When I became a good girl, I also became a bulimic. None of us can hold our breath all the time. Bulimia was where I exhaled. It was where I refused to comply, indulged my hunger, and expressed my fury. I became animalistic during my daily binges. Then I draped myself over the toilet and purged because a good girl must stay very small to fit inside her cages. She must leave no outward evidence of her hunger. Good girls aren't hungry, furious, or wild. All of these things that make a woman human are a good girl's dirty secret. Back then, I suspected that my bulimia meant that I was crazy. In high school, I did a stint in a mental hospital and my suspicion was confirmed. I understand myself differently now. I was just a caged girl made for wide open skies. I wasn't crazy. I was a goddamn cheater.
I love it. I love it. So that, and then the story is with the cheetah that it was a way of them. They went to the zoo and essentially they saw a domesticated cheetah. Yeah. And it basically,
I think it was domesticated. Yeah, something. Yeah, domesticated cheetah. Yeah,
bred,
or a Labrador or something. Yeah.
Yeah, with a Labrador, and rather than go into all that, and I guess that cheetah never lost. It still had its natural instincts once it had a chance to, and I guess that's beautiful to look within ourselves and like talk to me, B, because you would say you're applying this to your life as well, and it was like, well, you're breaking free, B. You're breaking free of the corporate restrictions of how you should see the world.
And what's productive and what's...
Yes, talk to me about the production. What is productive to you? Come on, talk to me.
God. And I could feel myself cringe. I've spent, like many others, being productive in the confines of what other people see as what we should focus on, what actually is meaningful and what will take the business in a certain direction. And sometimes you agree with it and sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
And you fit the mold of the 9 to 5 or thereabouts, lunch at a certain time and everything. I mean, obviously this is changing a little bit with, the whole pandemic and working from home, but this is pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
Where you had the, going to the office and, and I think we were able to work from home towards the end. But you feel like a caged animal because you're used to, this is how you're conditioned. You come in, read a few emails, attend a few meetings, you know, you get into this rhythm, and somebody else's rhythm, how I would say it, somebody else's rhythm. It's not our rhythm.
Yes.
And then because we're so conditioned to be that way, or in my case for 20 years, then to break free and saying, you know, the grass is greener, there's got to be something better, there's got to be something beyond, you know, that, you know, how the imagination, there's got to be something out there, I want that. And then you get there and you're like, I'm like that little, you know, I feel like this little, you know, going, oh my God, now that I've got what I thought I wanted, which is all this freedom, I have to redefine what that looks like, because I'm used to, my body, my nervous system is conditioned a certain way. And it's this unraveling, and not then taking the easy road sometimes and going and getting another job to just replace that.
Yes.
Like, I've spent many years doing this work behind the scenes, healing, all of this stuff, so that I can break free from what hasn't served me towards the end of my career, and reassessing and taking that time to reassess. Often it's okay, or it's acceptable to take a gap year or go, you know, and travel the world and, you know, find yourself and do all of that, right? So, you know, that's acceptable. It is. It's acceptable.
Nothing you can't have acceptable right now. Sorry. Okay. Didn't you have plans to travel, B?
Exactly. Right. So I was doing, you know, I'll think about it, you know, my changing career, I'll think about it. I booked my trip for 2.5 months. I was going to be walking the Camino Trail, you know, the whole thing. I had it booked. I was doing the Dr. Joe Dispenza meditation workshop and having these beautiful experiences and finding myself again. And then coronavirus came.
Wee.
So that sort of blew up my world, like many others, but I was like realizing that I was in two lots of grief. I was in the grief of losing the year that could have been, you know, the year that, you know, I was meant to rediscover myself, and in the standard way that we do, which is going traveling and, you know, and all that kind of stuff.
Pull yourself away from the norm, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
But it's sort of acceptable. But to actually take time out for a year and not actually, well, this is my perception. Obviously, other people have different views. I'm perceiving, this is my own perception of how other people could judge me. I'm very aware of that. Is that, you know, I should be, you know, putting a deposit down on a house, and I should be, you know, doing things with my money, you know, that kind of stuff, doing the right thing, setting myself up for my future, and in a way that's still typical, you know, but taking that time out. Like, I don't have children, so I didn't take, like, I took one sort of sabbatical when I was 30 to do the traveling thing. But I'm now 14 years later, where I'm sort of at this point where I'm now reinventing myself again. But I haven't taken like a year off to have a child. I don't have what you could call, a society call, an excuse to take time off, and it's sort of acceptable. I didn't have that. And so I sort of feel like I need to reevaluate, because I don't want to retire necessarily at 65. If I love what I do, I don't need to retire.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to have to wait and postpone my life until I retire.
Comes a lifestyle that you love.
Makes no sense. You know, and live the life I want to live, but then you've been conditioned then for 45 years instead of 25 years. Yeah, anyway, I'm going off on a rant now.
But you also brought up a really beautiful point when we were discussing this earlier on the phone, in that you said that there's a piece there that, you know, is unacceptable, absolutely unacceptable to society to take time off and not to do. Just
and be productive in.
That's it. The link between
the society's productivity. Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think that is right now what many of us are feeling in this pandemic. Is the guilt to not, because it's collective. Everyone can feel it, and it's but to be rather than to do is nurturing to self, right? And
yeah,
and you finding your path, finding your passion so you can serve other when you go into your business, takes that, who am I now? But what are my strengths? What do I really want to do? How do I follow that energy? Because if I can follow this energy, we were talking, B's words were, it's a more feminine way of doing business. Yeah. And
it feels uncomfortable.
And then it's like, well, what wide structure can we give ourselves to be more feminine and flowing in? Because we've got to allow our growth. Who knows what the future holds? So,
yeah, I had to give myself a break mentally. So first off, the first month I was off. So this is now. I'm now 3.5 months now off. And I had a very stressful finishing up at work. And so the first month I spent still doing. So it was sort of like, okay, now I've got to do this and now I've got to do that. And now, so I kept that going for a month. So that was January. Then February was, I need to focus on my health. So I did a detox. And so it's sort of, then my nervous system started to unwind. I did a couple of courses, which was amazing. And that was really good. And I think then when the pandemic hit, that's when sort of things went a bit chaotic, because I'm used to seeing people and I love the energy of the face-to-face and I was starting to spend, I was spending time with, it was so beautiful about this experience is spending time with my sister who had a 4-month-old baby, and I was seeing her once a week and helping her out, and just spending that time with my sisters and their children and family is so important to me. And then sort of having that, like everybody else, sort of doing it via Zoom, it just felt weird. So that was really hard, but I'm just sort of losing my track a little bit. But what I realized in terms of the business is that, and doing it sort of more the feminine way, is to take the pressure off myself and go, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. And in reframing it that way meant that I could just relax, because it's like, whose timing am I trying to get this all having figured out, and project planning, and it has to look different. But it's been a challenge, because I'm used to having the structure of the day, and now I'm sort of going, okay, well, I can do, as long as I do my meditation in the morning, the first thing in the morning, then I think about there's a couple of things that I need to do, but then the rest of the day can be with doing coaching clients or whatever, and I just feel so different. But then and then other days I might just go, okay, well, I just need to have a bit of a rest, but it all feels weird because it's not the same. Like when you go work 5 days a week, you get up at the same similar time, you always have something planned afterwards. And then, you know what I mean? Like I always was over scheduled, and now I'm still scheduling, but leaving space. Talking about space, Belinda, you need to be just okay with space. It's okay.
Yes, it's
okay. Yeah.
Both the do and the space.
Yeah.
Circulate before you have to get out and do if you're called. Oh, I love that, Belinda. And
So I'm in that. I'm in it. I'm in that.
I'm so excited to see what's going to be birthed, because whoever's going to work with you, they're going to be, man.
Yeah.
You know what? You're going to be doing some amazing work. So it's forming, and look.
Yeah.
Can you? What's the work? What's your business called again? Sorry.
Yeah, it's called and that was another interesting thing. You know, you can procrastinate on business names and all that kind of stuff. And one day I just went for a walk and I went, oh, I've got to start blogging one day. And if I don't do, I've got to come up with this name. Anyway, it came up. It's called Be Transformed Coaching. Because what I do, so B is for Belinda, but also being as opposed to doing. And Psyche is about transforming stress, creating new empowering beliefs in a nutshell. And so it's all about transformation. And in any healing journey or any way we look at the world, it's always about changing our perception about what occurred. And so this technique is that. And what I've discovered in coaching some people is that I'm starting to work more intuitively. So within a framework, I'm working intuitively. It's just sort of now, because I have the space and I'm not sort of in that continual stress bubble, it's sort of now coming I'm just sort of trusting that whatever we do with that, you know, whatever we do together, because it's a do with process. I'm not doing it to you. We're doing it together. It's sort of just, it's unique for every person, and just meeting people where they're at. I think that's my gift, is just meeting people where they are at and helping them where they are. Yeah.
And you mentioned the word trust. I'm so glad, because we couldn't leave that out before we wrap this.
Oh yeah, because we talked about that, didn't we? No, did you wanted to? Oh, because did you mention it first in the last conversation we had? About trust.
Basically, what your wisdom that was coming through as I was just. Do you want to talk about that? You answered your own, like there were no questions, but you were just.
I know, it was hilarious.
Unraveling.
I was just talking, and then I came out of it myself. I'm like, do I just trust?
That's it.
Do I just trust? I was asking my own question and answering my own question as I'm talking to Elise. Do I just trust and just let it flow according to it? It's not coming out properly, but do I just trust the universe or you know, the feminine way of unfolding in its timing, in its own creative timing, divine timing, so that it unfolds in a beautiful way? Or do I go, ooh, maybe I should just go and get a part-time job to keep my money still, you know, not going down, you know, to keep it sort of, you know, plateaued, so that it gives me more time to, you know, think about maybe what else I could do? Or do I just let it play out a little bit longer? Because you know, it's where that control and security comes in, your base chakra. You start to sort of panic, even though there's no reason to panic.
Yeah.
Well, in my case, there's no, you know, with the redundancy, there was no reason to panic, but there's still that fear. And I answered my own question, was like, I'm just going to trust.
Oh, isn't that beautiful?
Just going to trust that, like, there's no rush. Like I said, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint.
And it's an unraveling. It's a constant unraveling. Oh, amazing. Creating more space for that to be created.
But it feels so uncomfortable. And it feels really really uncomfortable.
You're going to get the truth here. All right. Absolutely.
I know. I say it how it is. It feels really weird. I'm constantly checking in my judgment of myself.
Yeah.
And I was listening to an interview the other day with a lady. I'm actually going to be doing a career coaching session with her, and I'm going to give her a shout out because she's a great woman. Her name's Nikki Smith.
Yep.
And she helps people who are making career transitions. So she's a psychologist, a coach, and she talks about talking to yourself like you would talk to your best friend, with compassion. And and she was the one that I was going to walk, I will be walking the Camino with. So she was going to take us. She's a psychologist that was going to take a group of us. And I think it's going to be October now. Yeah, she's the lady that I've been following for a while, and so excited. So I'm just doing her online program and doing some coaching sessions with her. But she talks about mini experiments, and so this is a mini experiment, me doing what I'm doing. And and it doesn't have to be, it's not about success and failure. I think we do often give ourselves a hard time about, what's success anyway?
You just got to have a go, don't you? Live.
Yeah.
Really live.
Yeah.
And listening to you, and everyone who's listening to this can feel the energy of you.
I know, I'm just rambling.
And giving it a go and just having fun with it.
I know. I take so many risks and chances, and I just do it. I just trust my intuition and I just go for it. And most of the time, I would say 8 times out of 10, the net will always catch me. The net will always catch me. I've been very fortunate, and I've had so many awesome experiences, and I'm so grateful to know you and have traveled and journeyed with you in Mystery School, and you're like amazing woman that I look up to. And makes me sad.
Oh, it makes you sad?
It makes me sad because I'm just so lucky. Lucky. Like to have, and that's one thing I do, or really, impress is probably a wrong word, but really ask women, or whoever's listening, it could be a man, is to really reach out, like find those support networks, find those people that you resonate with, whether it's where you want to go, people that have experienced similar things that what you've experienced, finding those people that you can just go to, that have just got your back. That to me is so important, and it's probably been in the last, I think it's about 4 or 5 years or something, that I've sort of created more of those networks. Before that, I probably felt a little bit more alone. I felt like I was a bit more of the black sheep, didn't really fit in. But over time, just to find your peeps.
Yes, to live higher, right?
Yeah.
To see from that higher perspective. Yeah, absolutely.
Find your peeps.
Thank you for sharing that, because that's very...
Yeah, it's just something that just popped into my head. And, I just think sometimes we don't reach out because we're, maybe to hotlines, or, you've seen so much in them. One of the things I'm passionate about is mental health. And it completely, I'm now going on another tangent, but it completely breaks my heart that people are suffering.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And sometimes it's, hard. Some people won't even reach out for free help.
Yeah.
And because they're ashamed, or there's a stigma. And I think at least reaching out to a friend or a support network where you don't feel alone, if that's the next step you take, then please do.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of free groups out there, even if they are obviously just online at the moment, but lots of welcoming groups there. So that's really good advice as well. Good places to start would be meditation groups. My online group is there. To your souls there. Also, there's a group called Rewilding for Women, which is really good as well. So yeah, reach out. They're all free, and there's like-minded women there to support each other, and you will get in those places. Thank you, B. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I feel like I'm going to have a good cry now.
Yeah, let it out. Let it
Just touched. Yeah.
Happening here in Australia today in particular, I really absolutely feel that. So you're actually probably just tapping into that collective. There's a real depression. There's a real people are staying inside. Like I live in a suburb that's gorgeous, and people usually are out walking their dogs and their children are riding their bikes. And to tell you the truth, I haven't seen one person come past me, and it's just after 2 p.m. in the afternoon. It is a glorious day. So there's something going on, B, that you understand?
Yeah.
I feel that.
Yeah, I just feel like this pandemic, I know we're losing a lot of people, a lot of people globally. But my fear is more around depression, suicide, domestic violence. That's where I'm feeling that we're going to lose.
Yeah.
And it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart that that's going to be the case. That people don't have the tools, or they don't know where to turn. And
well, we can start with the basic stuff, the well-being, the looking after ourselves, meditating. Meditating is a great way just to start in with yourself, and you don't have to have any other training. There's so much online that's free.
That's it.
And then looking for other groups and really bringing yourself into this place of connection within and connection to outside of us to lift the vibration. It's just those little things, right? The little decisions we make daily, every minute, every second that we're awake. We can make those simple little decisions in our lives or choices. Oh, actually, that's going to lift my vibration. Oh, no, that's going to lower it. And just coming from there, even for the next few days, because I can feel a real, like a real, what do you call it? Like we're going within a lot, and there's a lot of like beating ourselves up and all that happening now. It's really hard to put words to.
Judgment,
like judging self. So this is completely non-judgmental, and if you choose to just not listen, that's absolutely fine too, right? You don't want to be in that. In what Belinda is talking about is mental like wellness and all of this. If it's all linked, if what we eat is linked, if you listen to what Belinda was saying about taking space for self, creating that space, creating that time away from any stimulus other than you, even if it's 2 minutes, 3 minutes a day, it doesn't matter. That makes such a difference. Simple things, coming back to that. And so we've learnt a lot, I think, from what you've spoken to us about. Also, pick up a book. This one.
Yeah, pick up a book, which is what I don't usually do.
I love
it. Watch a funny video, or like sometimes I do that if I'm feeling a bit down.
Yeah.
But what I do notice, just one more thing, that I notice with myself is sometimes it's just letting yourself, like, I'm eating this piece of chocolate or I'm watching this Netflix. I know that I'm doing it because I'm bored or because I'm whatever, but actually just going, you know what, today I'm okay with that. I'm okay with, I'm just going to watch Netflix or whatever. I'm going to allow myself X amount of time to do that for, and I'm conscious of that.
That's the difference.
I'm conscious of that. Yeah, I'm conscious of that. And I know that that's something I need to, no shame. Yeah, I'm conscious of that. Tomorrow, if it keeps going, if then the next day I'm still going like that, or the next day, then I know something's going on and I need to do something different.
Yes.
Yeah. If I stay in that,
absolutely, because then you bury yourself in, and there's this other thing too, which I don't want to spend much time on, but and if you're avoiding feeling something, obviously you and I both come from the background of like going into something, avoiding it. So just be aware though, if you want to feel something, to have the supports there and to be guided by something like at least a course or joining that group, or or a best friend and calling them and discussing some things. But there may be something there ready to reach the surface and to be released, even in the way of tears just falling. It's beautiful, and it's a release. and it's gorgeous. So
Yeah.
anyway, I think we pretty much covered it.
I don't even know how long we've gone for.
Actually, I'll have to double check. It
I
doesn't
don't
say,
know.
I think about half an hour.
How was it? Okay, cool.
Yeah, so anyway.
Felt like it was a little bit longer.
It probably was actually.
Well, thank you for facilitating my first video podcast, whatever you like to call it.
It's been so good to have you here, B. And I'd love to do a catch up in another few months when things shift and change, and who knows what the world will look like then. Just like do an update and see what you've learned and see what sort of clientele you're after then too. Ooh. All right. Links in the bottom. I'll put some links in the bottom underneath in the written of the podcast, so people will be able to access your beautiful skill set.
Awesome.
So thank you very much.
Thank
See you
you.
next time.
See ya.